Let's compare the new iPhone 11 and the Samsung Galaxy S10e. Hey everyone, it is Andrew here from AppleInsider. Today we're going to be going more in depth with both the iPhone 11 and the Samsung Galaxy S10e. Both of these are essentially the most affordable options in the flagship lineup for the respective manufacturers. So we're going to compare these head to head and see which one kind of comes out on top. Let's go ahead and dig into the details. First up, let's take a look at the displays and the size of each phone. So the iPhone 11 has a 6.1 inch display. It fits in the middle between the iPhone 11 Pro and the 11 Pro Max, whereas the Galaxy S10e is smaller with only a 5.8 inch display. Apple and Samsung use different displays in their phones, and not just because of the size. The iPhone is using that liquid retina display with the rounded corners, but it's still an LCD. Whereas here over on the Galaxy S10e, they're actually using an AMOLED panel instead. So you're going to get far deeper blacks and more contrast on the Samsung display than you are on the iPhone. Looking at them side by side, there's definitely a difference. The iPhone doesn't look bad at all. The colors are still outstanding for an LCD panel, but you're just never going to get those deep blacks like you do with the iPhone 11 Pro or the 11 Pro Max or the Galaxy S10 line. You also notice a difference as far as pixel density goes. The Samsung S10e is far higher with 465 ppi against Apple's 324. That is a pretty big difference in pixel density. Normally looking at the S10 versus the 11 Pros, there's not a huge difference, but between the iPhone 11 and the S10e, there is definitely a difference when you're looking at certain images. You can definitely see the difference looking and reading text. It's just not quite as high resolution or as dense as it is over here on the S10e. Before we move on and talk about performance, which, trust me, you guys definitely want to see, let's talk about this video sponsor, Kadabe. So Kadabe makes smartphone cases, and with the iPhones just launching, there's no better time to dive into this. This is their sheath case. It's very thin, but it offers a lot of drop protection at the same time. It's made of their proprietary Shocklite material and offers 2 meters or 6.6 feet of drop protection in this thin design. Their whole thing is making this thin, minimal aesthetic with offering that good drop protection at the same time. It has a nice micro-textured outside for some added grip, and we have their synthesis case, which is their most rugged case out there, and it offers 2 materials. It has a polycarbonate back and Shocklite around the edges, so you have that added drop protection here on the outside, nice little angled accent around where the camera lenses are. It has extra bumps around the corners, which should give you a little bit more protection on those corner falls, and they have these precision cut ridges along the edges for added grip, so you just don't drop it in the first place. If you want to check out either of these cases or any other in Kadabe's lineup, you can find information at the link down below in the description. Now, let's go ahead and move on. The next aspect to dive into would be the cameras. There's the front-facing cameras as well as the rear-facing cameras. On the front of the phone, Apple does have the edge with a 12 megapixel sensor on the iPhone 11, where the Samsung Galaxy S10e only has a 10 megapixel camera. More so, the S10e only has 1 camera up there, whereas the iPhone has the true depth camera system and a lot more options there. Because of that single camera, you don't have a depth camera there, so it does do kind of those live focus portrait style photos, but they're not nearly as good, and they're all doing it through software. Whereas on the iPhone and the higher end Galaxy S10 Plus, you do have those depth cameras that can capture a much better image. Turning them over to the rear cameras, the iPhone and the Galaxy S10e both have 2 cameras here on the back. They each have a wide-angle lens and an ultra-wide-angle lens. The iPhone 11's is 12 megapixels for both, but the S10e does bump up the resolution on the ultra-wide. But as we mentioned in our previous camera comparisons, going from the 12 megapixels to 16 megapixels on those ultra-wide lenses doesn't really make that much difference day to day, because if you're going to zoom in to actually see that difference, you might as well have shot on the wide angle to begin with and got a markedly better picture all around. We also have to give the iPhone the edge here just because of the night mode support. So there is night mode on the latest updates to the Galaxy line, but when you compare it to the night mode on the iPhone's 11s, it is very, very different. We've also been playing around with the beta of Deep Fusion over on our iPhone 11 Pro Max, and you do get a lot more detailed and textured shots. So that's going to be another enhancement coming to the iPhone 11 versus the Galaxy S10e. So as far as the cameras go, the iPhones definitely have the win. Turning to security, both phones have facial recognition to unlock them. Though Apple is definitely more secure, Face ID has the edge absolutely over the facial recognition over on the S10e. primarily due to the true depth camera system, which again captures depth data. So it actually captures like a full 3D shot of your face and even watches for your eye movements to kind of unlock your phone. Whereas on the S10e, it's capturing with just one camera a static photo of your face and comparing it each time. It has been easily fooled with even just a video of the owner of the phone held up to the camera, and it's been able to unlock them. So the facial recognition on this has gotten better over time, but it's still nowhere near as secure as Face ID is on the iPhone 11. They do back that up though with an ultrasonic in-screen fingerprint reader, which gives you additional biometric security getting your phone besides just the passcode. But it too has been fooled with easily 3D printed fingerprints. So there's still some issues here with security on these phones, but having a 3D fingerprint handy is not all that likely, and the security level should be good for most users on either phone. But if you're looking for the most secure, you're going to have to lean towards the iPhone and either just use a passcode on either phone that you choose. Okay, so now let's go ahead and dive into performance, which I think is what most people are excited to hear about. So both of these phones are powerful. There's no doubt about it. These are powerful phones. They each have really capable processors in there. There's a Snapdragon 855 processor in the Galaxy S10e. It is a beast of a chip with 8 cores and 6 gigs of RAM. And over on the iPhone, Apple has its own in-house designed A13 Bionic chip, which is only 6 cores and it only has 4 gigs of RAM. But you wouldn't know that from our testing. So we went into our usual kind of gamut of tests, starting with Geekbench 5. In Geekbench 5, the S10e earned 721 single and 2417 multi-core scores. Those compared to the 1335 and 3490 that the iPhone 11 scored. There's a huge difference, almost double in that single core score between the two. And the only reason the multi-core was closer was because there's 8 in here and only 6 in here, and still the iPhone 11 clobbered the S10e. Moving on, we ran the Antutu multi-hyphenate test, which runs a bunch of different tests. It's a long benchmark to perform and gives a lot of results and then combines them all into a single total score. On the Antutu benchmark, the iPhone 11 managed a cumulative 430,160, a huge boost over the 355,251 that the S10e scored. The iPhone 11 had the biggest gains in GPU when we compared those scores side by side. Lastly, we took to the browser for the Speedometer Test. Now, this benchmark.org benchmark really kind of tests web applications in the browser. So a lot of what we do, even if you don't think of it as a web app, kind of qualifies as a web app with just anything that you do in the browser really other than just reading. So we really want to test this out because it can make a big difference day to day in what you're actually doing on your phones. So we ran this benchmark and it gives us some good impressions on how this does between both devices. The Galaxy S10e earned a pretty solid 55.8 runs per minute. But when we ran the iPhone, it eclipsed that score with a massive 153 runs per minute. So we have almost 3 times that web app performance over on the iPhone compared to the S10e. Needless to say, the iPhone 11 was far faster day to day than the S10e. Now, for what it's worth, we did notice those differences when we held them side by side. It's faster to restart the phone, faster to launch apps, faster to open the camera, faster to unlock with facial recognition. All these things were faster over on the iPhone, but you only notice them when you're kind of side by side. They're still speedy either way. This is 2019 and nothing is particularly slow. So there is a speed difference, but we're not sure how much you're gonna notice it now, but it could play into the longevity of the device and how it holds up over time. A lot of this has to do with Apple designing its own chipsets. They are designing that A13 Bionic in-house. They're not buying it off the shelf and just slapping it on their phones. They're designing it so they can get the most out of that silicon and really just making it the most efficient chip for their phones as they can, instead of just buying something off the shelf and trying to tailor their software to match the chip. So which device do you choose? Do you choose the iPhone 11 or the Samsung Galaxy S10e? If we're just looking at the specs, the iPhone wins in a few categories and the Galaxy wins in a few categories. Absolutely, Galaxy wins as far as the screen goes. The screen here is gorgeous, it is vivid, it is powerful, it has great contrast. The OLED display, it's really nice. And the pixel density is definitely higher. The Liquid Retina display is no slouch by any means, but it does have larger bezels and it is an LCD rather than OLED panel. But the iPhone also wins when it comes to security, and it easily wins when it comes to performance. And we even give it the edge with cameras because the night mode photos are so much better on the iPhone line than on the S10e. So if we're looking at just specs, we do give the edge to the iPhone, but the specs are never the whole picture. It's a nice story, but it's not the whole story. There are so many ineffable qualities that you can't put your fingers on between the two of these. Maybe just prefer Android. Maybe you prefer the more powerful device in a smaller package. You don't want to have to pay for the iPhone 11 Pro to get that. There are a lot of reasons that you would choose this one over this one or this one over this one. It's simply just going to be the case, and we're never going to judge anyone by which phone that they prefer. But if you do want to pick up either of these phones, if you want the best deals, you can find the links down below in the description. And I'd love to hear your thoughts and your preferences over on Twitter at Andrew_OSU. Hey everyone, did you guys like that video? Be sure to click on that like button so we can create content that we know that you guys want to see. And follow Apple Insider on all social media channels. If you want the best prices on any Apple gear, check out the Apple Insider price guide that is updated daily. And until next time, we'll see you later.